All right, and we are up. Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the recap. Michael D'Angelo, Big D, Daryl Ortiz, great to see you, my friend.
Likewise.
And another action-packed week. Now, 2 weeks out from the Royal Rumble, I believe, so we are getting close, my friend.
Yes, getting close to my favorite pay-per-view of the year, or premium live event of the year. Royal Rumble is always so much fun, all the surprises. And, I mean, I don't feel they're doing too much to ramp up for it right now, but it's okay. We're a little over 2 weeks away, I guess you could say, but I'm very excited for the Rumble.
Yeah, I think they're trying to put together a lot of the threads, and we saw that this week on Raw and Smackdown. There's a lot of threads that are heading into the Rumble, so that's what we're going to start with today, ladies and gentlemen, our recap for Raw and Smackdown. And starting off with Raw, Big D, take us through what happened this week.
So something interesting, I know we talked about last week about Drew McIntyre technically like beating himself because of the way he pulled Seth's foot over the rope. So we have a Drew promo, and he actually acknowledges that. He acknowledges that he beat himself, and he's being his own worst nemesis, whatever. But then kind of spun it back into again playing the whole psychiatrical card, like okay, yeah, it was my fault, but Damian Priest, why did you interfere? And so then eventually mocks CM Punk, starts talking trash about CM Punk's return. And, of course, as with any time you mention Punk's name, he is in the house, he will come out, and he does. And it was a decent back and forth between the two. And the only reason I mentioned this promo is because there are some tidbits in there that kind of caught me off guard with CM Punk. And it was interesting because he was talking to Drew. Of course, they have a history together. They were together, and Drew talked about, you called yourself a leader, but you're not a leader. You never were. You just left. And Punk saying, well, I never called myself a leader. And he's like, but if you want me to be your leader, we can shave your head and we can be the Straight Edge Society again. I was like, whoa, okay, I like that. Straight Edge Society was pretty interesting, but it was. And again, says that he doesn't have any demons or anything like that, but that he is one. And again, playing to the whole is he healed? Is he face? What is he going to do? And I think it all depends. I'm starting to think that the reason he doesn't pick a side is because they don't know who he's going to face yet for the championship. I think they're still debating if they want him to continue with Seth, at which point he would have to turn heel, or he's going to take it from Roman, which I hope doesn't happen, because then he'd have to be face to beat Roman. So I think that's probably why they're doing that. So it was just interesting, of course, to see that dynamic between the two. Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, not a feud I thought I'd want to see, but I think it'll be a pretty decent feud to watch. I mean, they're both pretty good together, so I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I was like, oh, Drew McIntyre's opening the show again, which he seems to happen every week on Raw. And I like that I did like the fact that he made fun of Damian Priest for being an idiot. With the cash-in, which is something I mentioned the week before. I was like, yeah, really, why did you do it this way? And he's like, why did you wait? Why didn't you wait till had already won and I was tired? Why did you do that? What are you, some sort of an idiot? And I was like, he's got a point there.
He ain't lying. Yeah.
And then when CM Punk comes out, so as much as I like to heckle CM Punk and criticize him, he's great on the microphone. Clearly, he's really good. And I think in this promo, you see Drew is definitely, he's fine on promos, but between the two of them, obviously CM Punk was much better and came off a lot better on the promo. There was that one moment I did have to kind of roll my eyes a little bit when CM Punk was standing right in front of Drew McIntyre, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to leave before I knock your teeth down your throat. And I'm like, well, I saw the UFC, and I saw you get your clock cleaned by Mickey Gall and Mike Jackson, so I don't think you're going to knock anybody's teeth down anyone's throat. But fine. That still does kind of get in the way of the suspension of disbelief. Because Drew McIntyre is a monster. I mean, you couldn't handle those guys. You couldn't handle Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
But, I think they're doing this thread, obviously, into the Royal Rumble as well.
Yeah.
So they're both going to be competing in the Rumble match. And there's a lot of threads now with different folks kind of leading into both the men's and women's Rumble match. So I'm looking forward to both, but this kind of felt the continuation of that. What are they going to do here, and where are they going to take the storylines? So it was a fine way to open the show for me.
I think it was entertaining for the crowd. It gave the pop. Got the CM Punk, the obligatory CM Punk promo out the way, and more time for the matches. So after that happened, of course, Finn Balor versus Tommaso Ciampa. I was happy to see that. Tommaso Ciampa, Finn Balor, both spectacular wrestlers. I love it. Ciampa again, always very aggressive and strong. Blackheart, of course, you know, he is one of those. Just I love watching him fight. So that's awesome. So him, of course, there was a lot of Damian interference. Of course, Balor's able to take over, back and forth. That's one thing I've noticed about Finn Balor when he works matches is that he can make it look good, and him and Tommaso Ciampa do it well together. That back and forth exchange where they're like, you know, one person takes the momentum, then the next one comes in, and it works really good. You know, finishers reversed. I like that nobody kicked out of a finisher; they got reversed, which is always good to see. Of course, you had Johnny Gargano finally jumped in, took out Damian Priest to stop the interference. But again, Ciampa goes in to break it up. But I didn't like the ending to this, and I'll tell you why in a sec.
Me neither.
So, of course,
me neither. But go ahead.
They get back in the ring, and Gargano trips up Balor, like grabs his leg or something enough to get his attention, and Ciampa beats him with the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the roll up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't like it because, one, Gargano and Ciampa are the faces. Why use heel tactics to win a match when you are the face? Now, had that been Damian Priest, fine. I still wouldn't have liked the roll up for victory, but hey, heels are going to heel, right? They're going to do their thing. But Gargano grabbing the boot like that when Tommaso Ciampa was clearly, you know, taking control again, just seemed unnecessary and a cheap way to kind of lead into the roll up. Again, I'm not a fan of roll ups. I don't like them. I get they don't want the tag team champs to look weak, but at the same time, there's better ways to do this.
Yeah, well, I had the exact same reaction because I remember, if I remember correctly, he rolls him up, and so he was on top of him, and then what was it? Gargano grabbed Finn Balor's foot and held it down, so he couldn't kick out, and he interfered with the pin, and I was like,
there you go, yes,
really? Like I was the same thing. I was like, why are you using heel tactics? Because it was so cheap looking. Where I'm like, really, you couldn't just let him get the roll up on him and beat him. Which I don't like the surprise. You know, we both feel that way about surprise roll ups, but it was such a heel move that I'm like,
it was.
They blur the lines now all the time. It used to be the distinction of the face is going to overcome adversity and they're going to play by the rules and they're going to beat the odds no matter what. Now the faces just do all the heel stuff, which isn't cool. So it that bothered the heck out of me. I was like, I love this match, except I absolutely hated that finish. So we were on the same page there.
It was such a good match. It really was. It was not necessary, but I mean, it is what it is. I suppose leads up. I'm assuming, again, it's just a wild guess, that we're probably going to get Damian Priest and Johnny Gargano next week. I'm guessing.
Probably.
Because that's usually what happens. So we'll see. Up next, had a recap Nia versus Becky. Then an interview with Becky where she declares for the Rumble. So it's like, okay, you just got knocked the F out. And they're just like, all right, Rumble. All good. Move on. Did
you? So I got to stop you there real quick because this promo bothered the heck. This is probably one of the worst promos I've seen in a long time. And it bothered me because it really was Becky Lynch going, you know, last time she put me in the hospital. This time she didn't. So either she's getting weaker or I'm getting stronger. I was like, what? Like that's your comeback? Yeah, I lost. But hey, she stuck me in the hospital before. I didn't go to the hospital this time, so this is a moral victory. Like that's what it came out as. And I'm like, really? The man Becky Lynch is taking a moral victory over Nia Jax because she didn't get it was the equivalent of, hey, you think this looks bad? You should see the other guy's fist.
Yeah.
Like it was so weak. I absolutely hated it. And for me, I was like, man, that takes Becky Lynch down. Like I couldn't imagine people cheering that and going, hey, you know, Becky, you got a point. She didn't send you to the hospital.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought that hurt her brand a lot.
I think it did. And now I'm just waiting for Nia to come back and be like, well, last time I didn't knock you out and this time I did. So, like, I don't know. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Exactly.
But, oh, well. Well, yeah, so Becky's going to go join the Rumble. And so we'll see what happens there. Up next, we had Kofi and Kaiser because they couldn't finish the match last time. because of the injury to Vinci. So Kofi versus Kaiser. I noticed it, and I know that I had to look back, but yeah, Kofi had the same ring gear last week. I guess he doesn't wear the New Day pants anymore. He's wearing shorts, and
Yeah,
a little different.
he looks like he's wrestling in his PJs.
Yeah, I even wrote like, did he lose his ring gear? And then I went back. I was like, no, he used the same one last time too. So who knows? Maybe new ring gear.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But again, Kaiser just being the heel in this one, being aggressive, and Kofi just can't keep the momentum on his side. Keeps getting shut down. So it was almost one-sided for the first part of the match. Ends in a double count out, which was weird. And then what was even more weird is that Kofi hits the super kick and then rolls Kaiser back into the ring like if he's gonna pin him, and the ref's like, dude, the match is over. So it's done.
It's like you guys were already counted out.
And then so they move on to continue to brawl, and Kaiser throws the commentator's chair at Kofi and knocks him out pretty much, and then takes him out with like a double leg drop or off the steps. Like he kind of hits his
it was like he did the run around and then
it was
hit him
a weird
in the
finish.
I mean,
why end it in a double count out? I don't know what they're trying to lead up to. I don't know if they're just killing time for Xavier Woods, and that way they can have a proper Imperium New Day match. I don't know, but I was not a fan of how that just all went about. Maybe there's a bigger picture thing in mind. I don't know, but time will tell. I'm sure we'll find out this Monday and see what the story is behind that.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing too with that one is, I actually like the fact that they played into hey, he's getting revenge. Like he's mad because his buddy got hurt,
right?
So he's trying to extract, and that was like the whole theme. And I was like, okay, cool, gives us a little bit of closure because the other match ended really awkwardly. Let's play off of the actual storyline. Right. I had the same problem with the double count out because I was like, wait a second, like if you were going to do that, just have him get DQ'd. Just have Kaiser go off on him and be overly aggressive and hit him with a chair or something. Like have him really spin into the whole heel thing and be intentionally trying to injure him, and he gets disqualified. Versus they have this awkward double count out, and then it just that whole the sequence of him like, hey, I'm not going to do anything. Oh, I'm going to try. Hey, I'm not going to do anything. Let me run around the ring. That took too long. They probably could have wrapped it up a couple of minutes earlier, and then him blowing up backstage about how he's he's the only one representing Imperium, all that. I liked all of that. I just didn't like the way that they ended the match, to your point.
It could have ended differently. And I think you're right. I think maybe he gets overly aggressive and just loses control, right? Tempers flare, stuff like that. But double count I'm not really a fan of. But, oh well. Then, of course, up next, Michael Cole gets to interview Nia Jax, who also claims she'll win the Royal Rumble. And nobody can stop her, which is true because nobody has been able to beat her, unfortunately. Until Rhea comes out and Nia's like, nah, I'm good, bye. Like, Nia says, nah, you're scared of, she says that Rhea's scared of her and that she's going to choose her after she wins, and that Rhea's just kind of like, oh crap, which I think is good. I mean, like, again, I'm not a fan of Nia Jax, but so I think you mentioned it, to your point, if they're going to build her up to be this unbeatable heel, then yes, she should be the one to scare the crap out of Rhea. Because she's on a roll and she's hot. She's like going in hot, and Rhea needs to be like worried about it. So it was played well. Again, don't like Nia, but I mean, it was done well. So I would say that's okay.
Well, I loved it. Yeah, because I had mentioned this. I was like, hey, do you just put her in a program with Rhea Ripley at this point? And they teased it. So my question is, are you going to actually do it now? Because I think they're still making this all contingent on if she wins the Women's Rumble. And she can call out Rhea Ripley. I don't think she's going to win the Women's Rumble. Like, I really don't at this point. So
I think she is.
I'm still thinking Jade Cargill's going to make her debut, and she's going to win it because they've been holding her off. So I feel like she's the surprise entrant that's going to come out and win it.
Yeah, I worry that Jade Cargill's going to come out and debut at the Rumble only to get overhead pressed by Nia and thrown out.
Well, I hope she won't. Like, I hope she wins it. But I'm thinking, okay, what are you going to do with Nia though? If like you've built it up this much, and they've teased her being the winner. Obviously, Bayley's not going to win. They've teased Nia being the winner on this. I thought they looked great in the face-off together. Rhea Ripley was getting a lot of love from the crowd.
Yeah.
Like they were cheering her like she was a face, obviously, because it's like you got to cheer for somebody. So, and that's where I was thinking, man, if you just decide to make her into that anti-hero, make her that Stone Cold Steve Austin kind of character, you can do it now.
Yeah.
And they keep sowing the seeds of dissension in the Judgment Day. So if you're gonna do it, this is the time to do it. But I like this. I'm curious if they're going to see it through or not.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what happens. So I guess we'll have to wait till the Rumble to see how that pays off. But then after that, we had a recap for The Rock's return. Everyone's seen that like 20 million times. It was viewed in WWE.com. We won't go over it again. Then we had the Party Crew versus Chelsea and Piper. So I guess this is the revenge match for getting a drink thrown at them. So again, it was a title match. It was a fast start. And surprisingly, Kaden and Katana making quick tags, quick pins, trying to end it early, working well together. I mean, they work well together. That's what's kind of frustrating about this tag team is that in the ring they work really well together. I'm not a fan of the gimmick so far. I mean, maybe they're still tweaking it, but I'm not a fan of it right now. So we'll see. But again, Kaden gets the hot tag. She's apparently being built as the powerhouse of the team. Cleans house, takes out Piper. There was a nice double team, her and Karana, which I thought was really cool. Chelsea almost gets the win, but gets distracted. But Katana, again, doing heel stuff, distracts the ref. Why are the faces doing heel stuff? Near fall after a backstabber senton combo, but then Piper accidentally Vader bombs Chelsea, which I don't know how you accidentally Vader bomb somebody. I mean, you're literally like,
it should be pretty obvious. Like, I laughed. I enjoyed that part though. I was like, good. Oh, that was good. That was fun. Yeah, it was fun, but it was like, the odds of that happening probably wouldn't happen.
Exactly. So of course she's like, oh my god, I hit my partner. So Kate and Katana hit the cake stand for the win. They retain, so now they get to move on to whatever other tag team they're going to put together against them. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, and you knew they weren't going to lose. They weren't going to lose their titles this quickly in the rematch. Heading into it, it was a fun match to watch. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the accidental Vader bomb, which is silly, but it was one of those fun moments.
It was a good comical spot.
One thing I really it was a good spot. And one thing that I really dislike, and I'm noticing a theme here with the women's division, the women's tag matches. You notice they always cut to the back, and they show like other women watching them on the monitors. Like there was like a whole group of all the women that were just all collectively sitting there in front of a TV, and it's like they did like 2 or 3 cuts, and I'm like, why do you do that during the women's tag matches? Like, they don't cut during the men's matches to, hey, and by the way, all the fellas are standing back there with their arms folded going, nodding, or they're really interested in this.
Well, they got to
I don't know what they're trying to say by that.
They got to remind you.
Yeah, they're like, by the way, there's other people that could challenge them.
There's not many, and they're all put together, like, kind of half-assed, in my opinion. But, I mean, they're there, so that's what I'm saying. We'll see who they put them together. Yeah, I thought that was weird, too. And the way they had them sitting like a school photo, they had some sitting down, some standing up, like it was awkward. I hope.
Yeah, the whole thing was a little strange.
Yeah,
and I don't understand why they do that with the women's matches, but it was fun. It was entertaining. Ended about the way that I expected it to.
Yeah, exactly. And we knew they were going to retain, so it's all good. During the intro for Chelsea and Piper, there was a backstage interview, and the reason I bring this up is because the main event for tonight was supposed to be Cody versus Shinsuke. They almost hinted a cancellation of the match because they were interviewing Cody, but then he gets jumped by Shinsuke, and I was like, oh, okay, that's how they're gonna, continue this onto the Rumble. No, it's now a street fight. So I'm like, okay. I mean, still cool because I'm curious to see how that turns out. We'll talk about that in a bit, but yeah, I was like, all right, that's cool. The R-Truth video package about being in Judgment Day was just hilarious. I love all of it.
More great stuff from R-Truth.
I remember the day I was born, the doctor was holding me in his arms. I'm like, how do you remember the day you were born? Oh my God, it was hilarious. My wife was cracking up at that too because we were both watching, and she was like, she's actually the one that said, how do you remember? And I'm like, yeah, I love R-Truth. He's just awesome in everything he does. So yeah, that package is awesome.
R-Truth is a great change of pace. He provides a lot of great comic relief. I like the stuff with the Judgment Day. That's one of my most enjoyable parts of Raw in recent memory.
I agree. Same here. It's good. It's fun. It kind of just, it's a good way to, like you said, change direction, right? So of course from there they have Judgment Day recapping all their. It's kind of weird, like they're there and they're like, yeah, Rhea's like, yeah, now I gotta deal with Naya, and then Balor's like, oh, I gotta deal with Ciampa, and they're just kind of recapping each other's feuds, which is kind of weird. But I mean, all that to say, we saw the next match, which was The Miz versus JD McDonough. Again, saying he's part of Judgment Day, pissing off McDonough. And then Miz was pretty much in control the whole match. JD does take control for a little bit after Dom interferes, but Miz hits the skull-crushing finale for a win. Really just like a throwaway match. Nothing really fancy or too crazy about it. I think this is just a way to insert R-Truth into the whole Judgment Day ordeal and kind of showing that frustration so that eventually we'll get the match. I think they did announce it, the match between The Miz and R-Truth against, I think, McDonough and Dom again. But again, they might.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, this will be where they finally let Truth turn completely to The Miz and work together again, bring back the awesome Truth. We'll see. I mean, they technically
that would be cool if they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one was fun, and I think it's the same thing. It's like R-Truth just adds a lot more to his antics at ringside added a lot more to that match, which a match that was okay, but it was enjoyable.
It was. We had Seth come out, cut a promo, of course, talking about how he's been in so many main events and so many WrestleManias, but he's never brought a title into WrestleMania, which is a valid point. He never has. So he's talking about how he's brought Pristine and he brought this title that was nothing a year ago, and now it's, a big deal and all that good stuff. And, he says that he'll win, he'll claim that it's the year of Seth Rollins, and asks, who else do I have to face? And then Jinder Mahal comes out as if he didn't get enough last week. You have Jinder Mahal comes out to, pretty much talk down about Seth, says he knows I did like this part where he mentioned the Punk return, where he's like, you just throw temper tantrums, after pay-per-views end or after shows end because you don't like who shows up or whatever. It says he's being overlooked. And Seth was like, you're right. You were overlooked, but that was on purpose because we want to forget about you. And tells Jinder to take a swing. Of course, Jinder doesn't do it, just to attack him from behind, typical heel move. And then Seth still gets him back and ends up coming from hitting the stomp or almost hitting the stomp to stand tall. So it was okay. Don't know where Jinder fits into all of this, honestly. I think you just want to give him something to do, but I mean, it was all right. I think we could have gone this whole show without that promo and that whole bit, but what do I know? I'm not a producer.
Yeah, I was like, we had another Jinder reveal this week. That's what I call it when Jinder Mahal pops up unexpectedly. I had to go with the dad jokes since The Rock had dad jokes last week. So and now Jinder Mahal is challenging Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship next week. So, and there's been a lot of debate this week about whether or not he deserves to have an instant title shot. So I'll give my take on this. WWE can kind of do whatever they want. It's their show. Yeah. They could bring back the Brooklyn Brawler if they wanted to, and book him against Seth Rollins if they wanted to. So my thing is, I just really want to see more consistency with how they're granting title shots or what qualifies somebody for a title shot. Yeah. I mean, Jinder, obviously, he is a former WWE champion, but we just saw him last week getting beaten up by like a man in his 50s. And then this week, and it had been, a year, I think, since he's won a match on Raw or won a match at all.
I think it has been, yeah.
And now all of a sudden he's in the main event. I'm like, so you have that where he's going to be wrestling for a title without any build-up. Yeah. We had Ivy Nile wrestling for the Women's World Championship without any build-up at all. She didn't win any matches to do it. And then you have, like, the contrast to that is Randy Orton, who's far more decorated than Jinder Mahal or anyone else. He's got to earn his title shot. And like, okay.
And even then it's a fatal four-way.
And then we just saw... Yeah, and it's a fatal four-way. And we just saw Logan Paul, who has never defended his U.S. championship, set up a multi-week, multi-round tournament to determine who will challenge him next, made up of a who's who of the roster and a lot of former champions there. So which is it? Can anybody just get a title shot at any time, or do you have to jump through a million hoops to get one? Yeah. I would just like to see some more consistency. But again, WWE can do whatever they want.
They can and they do, right? I mean, I agree. I feel that there has to be some kind of criteria. I feel like back then you used to have to fight your way up the ranks and, work your way up. I remember growing up, it used to be you had to start off and then you go, get the European title or TV title, then the European title, then the Intercontinental title, and then you're ready to go and challenge for the big title, right? And I feel like that's all gone to the wayside. I think they pretty much just set it up to where, like, hey, all of our heavyweights that we want to put are going to fight for the world title. Everyone else is going to fight for the Intercontinental and the European title. That's what's going to happen. Or not even the European title anymore. It's the U.S. title. The U.S. title.
The U.S. title.
And that's just what's going to happen, And it's just...
Yeah.
I hope they fix that, because it makes for very confusing television, because you have Seth Rollins with a legit feud with CM Punk, rather than making that your focal point. You have Jinder Mahal, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Jinder Mahal as a heel. He does good talking on the mic. He knows how to like ramp up the crowd and all that good stuff, and I get it, but at the same time, he hasn't done anything. He's been managing the tag team in the Sheer. So, I mean, he's a manager. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So, I'm hoping somebody that's listening can help it make sense, because it doesn't for me. It's not adding up, but we'll see. Next up, we actually had a pretty good match on paper. Was Otis and Ivar. I was pretty excited for this match, because I was like, they're both big guys. They're both agile. Again, this is like Ivar and Bronson Reed again, right? It was kind of like, all right, cool. This is going to be fun. Yeah. Very short match. Very physical to start. Again, both men showing off their strength and agility. One of my favorite moments was when Otis caught Ivar from a springboard crossbody into the world's strongest slam. That was, oh my God. Like,
same here. That was awesome. So I wrote that down. It's like, it was so cool when it happened. And it was like instant pop, and I was like, dang, that was pretty physically impressive. It's a lot of momentum to catch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was really good. Unfortunately, Ivar gets to hit the moonsault, or what did they call it? They called it the oh, my God.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what it was.
The doom salt.
It's like the howling of the... Yeah, the doom salt or something. Yeah.
It's called the doom salt. Or somebody correct me, please, because it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't... They call it something, of course, pretty much a moonsault.
I think it was the doom salt.
I think it was. Yeah. But yeah, it was short match, but entertaining. I mean, I like seeing these guys. A little awkward with Barrett talking about meaty men and whatnot, but I mean...
I know. About meat parties, right? He goes...
They kind of give you flashbacks.
Because I heard them like coming off of... Yeah, they come off... I was saying, he was like, I've been to a lot of meat parties. I really enjoy them. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna leave that one alone.
I agree.
When I enjoyed this one a lot more than the Bronson Reed matches. I actually did enjoy this one more.
Yeah.
Ivar's got to have like dirt on somebody. Like he is so active. He wrestles every single week on Raw, and I'm like, he's got to have like pictures of Triple H doing something, because he always gets himself onto the card every single week, and he's so active. What, Ivar can't get a title shot? That's my thing.
I mean,
if you're basing it off of activity and winning matches, you got to slot Ivar for something, because he is out there week in and week out making it happen.
Speaking of Bronson Reed, we had a backstage interview with Jey Uso talking about that he's going to claim he's going to get his first singles title in 2024 and this and that, and then Bronson Reed interrupts and pretty much telling him, don't get in my way, and it kind of scares him off, calls him Oos because of course. And I'm like, okay, so now he's going to feud with Bronson Reed? Like, I mean, hey, more power to him.
Yeah, it was random feuds are random. I was saying, I was like, are you just trying to find stuff for people to, like, pushing everyone into their starting position for the Royal Rumble?
I don't know.
I guess that's going to be a thread. I'm assuming they're both going to be in the Rumble and they're going to go after each other.
What they should bring back is doing the raffle numbers for the spot in the Rumble.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Actually,
that would be fun.
When Eddie Guerrero
as
we get closer to the Rumble.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk. We can talk more about our thoughts on how that's going to look, and because I'm real curious. They do have so many kind of open plot threads for the Rumble now that it will be interesting to see if they've really left room for surprise entrants at this point. I'm sure there'll be a couple. We'll see to what degree, but it's shaping up with they have all these little dangling threads for all the Rumble matches now.
Yeah. I'm calling 3 surprise intros. One we already said was Jade Cargill. I think she's going to make her debut at the Rumble.
Yeah.
Sasha Banks will be back, and so will AJ.
Sasha Banks. Yeah.
Yeah. AJ, Sasha Banks,
and
Jade
Sasha
Cargill.
Banks. I think they floated something out in the ether and said contract talks have broken down between WWE and Sasha Banks. And I'm like, whatever. You guys are just putting that out there so that it's like, oh, surprise, she's here.
Yeah.
I think you're right with AJ. So the women's Rumble definitely. Men's Rumble, I'm starting to get to the point where I think The Rock probably will be in it now. Yeah. I feel like he's going to be like number 30.
Like put him in last so he can win and face Roman.
Yeah.
That's what I think might happen.
He's going to come in, and because we saw after his 2 minutes of attacking Jinder Mahal, he doesn't have the win to wrestle for 60 minutes. He ain't walking out first. So
no.
He'll walk out last.
In the middle. Yeah.
I'm assuming
28, 29, or 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming CM Punk is going to be like number 16, 17. CM Punk's got to be like in the middle somewhere. They're not going to have him start it. And then they're going to poor Cody Rhodes is going to have to be number 1 or number 2 and wrestle the entire time and then get thrown out at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
he's going to be early. He's going to be one of the either 1 or 2.
Because he has to finish his story.
And that's where it's like he's going to wrestle the whole match and he's going to get tossed out by somebody in that final melee once everybody's come out. But I'm starting to think The Rock might actually win this thing.
He might.
But anyways,
we're very possible. Yeah, we'll do that. But I think that's what's going to happen. But we'll see. Last but not least, we had our main event, the street fight between Cody and Shinsuke. I actually enjoyed this fight a little bit. I did. I enjoyed it. There was, some points where it kind of was a little slow, and I just think because obviously these men are going through a lot, and that's natural. But I think that Cody starting out aggressive was a good call. I always pay attention to who starts out matches aggressive, right? And Cody, it's more the frustration, the pent-up aggression that he has towards Shinsuke. It's finally boiling over, and he just went at it. Shinsuke was doing more of like the cat and mouse chase. Like he'll get beat up and he'd roll out from the ring and kind of just make him come to him. Those kind of things was pretty cool. And then weapons started getting involved, right? Started doing I think what was the first thing we had was the kendo stick. That was pretty cool to see. I saw Cody hit his disaster kick. Still got a kick out. I don't think he's pinned anybody with a disaster kick in a while. So that's interesting.
I don't think so.
Yeah. And then, of course, crowd was just wanting a table. They got it. Table goes, shuts it up. But then Shinsuke starts attacking him with nunchucks of all things. But he knew how to use them, which was cool. And he actually, made good work out of them and used them well. And then Shinsuke goes to hit the mist again, but Cody ducks it and it hits the timekeeper. And this is what I kind of didn't like, right? You're in the middle of a street fight. And it was kind of a delayed reaction on Cody's part to the timekeeper getting misted. The timekeeper was on the floor, and then Cody went back to fight Shinsuke. Then he stopped, and he was like, "Are you okay?"
He's like, "Oh, hey, we need doctor's help." Yeah. It's like I think everybody saw the guy get misted. You probably don't have to call someone over.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody's on their way. It's fine. But I mean, he got distracted, and of course, Shinsuke hits him with the chair. And we come back from the commercial, and what's happening? Cody's getting hit with chair shots still. Shinsuke just taking it to him.
He got beat with chairs for the entire commercial break.
Yeah, I would love to see video of during the commercial break where Shinsuke's just tearing into Cody chair after chair. It's still commercial break. Let's go. But yeah, that was
like, you gotta keep going. When are we back? Where's the timekeeper? Oh yeah, I misted him in the eyes. I don't know when we're coming back from break.
He doesn't know when we're coming back either. But anyways, yeah. But yeah, no, it was funny. But yeah, but then of course eventually Cody reverses Shinsuke. When Shinsuke tries to throw him into the corner that he set up a chair at, and again that's where he takes the momentum. and then it goes back and forth. I like Cody hitting the bionic elbow. He was like in the middle of hitting it and then gets stopped, but then gets momentum back and then does a double, which was pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
But then sets up that table in the corner, which, you know, every time you leave a table in a precarious position, something's bad's going to happen. And so,
of course,
eats a headbutt from Shinsuke, which is that move I don't usually see Shinsuke do very much as a headbutt.
Yeah.
That was a pretty wicked headbutt. But then he puts Cody on the table and hits the most awkward double knee onto him to go through the table. That was like a very gentle going through a table, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It's a street fight. You know, he just like put his knees out and just fell on him, which was odd. But then, of course, and then from the second ropes and gets a 2 count out of that. Then Shinsuke gets a second table, which was interesting. And then he hits a flying knee off the top rope, which I thought was a Kinshasa, but it looked like one, but they didn't say it was. It's just said a flying knee. It. So he hit a flying knee. Cody still kicked out. And then ended up being, interesting enough, Cody reversing the Kinshasa with a super kick and then into a pedigree, of all things. Hits a pedigree, which I thought was very interesting to see. That, again, kicking out of that. I mean, everyone was kicking out of everything. Cody Cutter, he kicked out of it. And then finally gets it by reversing the Kinshasa to throw him into the table and hit a crossroads. I enjoyed the match.
Yeah.
I feel the pacing was a little off. I think they were trying to fill the time because I think when the match started, there's like 20-something minutes left. And I think they maybe only had it. I think they maybe only had themselves set up for like a 15 and they got extended to like a 20 or something because there's a lot of like awkward spots. Like I said, the hesitation when the timekeeper got misted and all that. So, I mean, I liked the match. I did. I haven't said anything was the match of the night because I don't feel there were any matches that were that great. They were good, but not like amazing over the top. I think this one had the potential. And I feel bad that it didn't because I think they ended the feud abruptly because the Rumble's coming along. I feel this should have been more of like a street fight for the Rumble and let it build up more. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. It was funny. I thought just based off of enjoyability, it was Otis versus Ivar was the one I enjoyed the most for the night. Yep. This one was good. I mean, it was a street fight, but they kept for me when I would think of a street fight, I kind of tend to think of like almost like the parking lot brawl type matches
going to the
never
back.
Really end up in the ring, and it happened in the back the whole time. So this one, they spent a lot of time in the ring. So I was like, it doesn't really feel like a street fight because they're in the middle of the ring the whole time.
More of a hardcore match.
And then they would just periodically, exactly like a hardcore match. They're periodically going under the ring and getting stuff. So it did feel more like a hardcore match than a street fight. I wish they had just done more stuff that was maybe outside or up on the stage because they're probably trying to stay in the arena.
Yeah.
But it was good. The pacing was a little off. The nunchuck spots were fun. All the stuff with Shinsuke and using the different weapons I thought was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, okay, so Cody won. So now he technically kind of has 2 wins. He's got like the DQ win over Shinsuke, and now he has this one. So I'm like, so is this it? Like, you won, and that or is this? I'm presuming this is the thread that takes them into the Royal Rumble because I'm guessing since Cody's going to be in, I'm assuming Shinsuke is going to be in the Rumble match, and Shinsuke is going to be the one that costs him because they keep building up. He's going to win the Rumble. Well, you have a nemesis for him already who's going to do everything that he can to prevent him from winning it.
Right.
And maybe that justifies CM Punk or somebody else. So I'm just assuming that will be when Shinsuke gets one over on him because so far Cody's 2-0 at this point.
Yeah. I agree.
I thought it was fine. I was hoping it was going to be a little more, but you don't get Attitude Era street fights anymore.
No, I miss those so much.
Yeah.
But I mean, I agree. I think I could see something happening along the lines of like maybe Shinsuke's in the Rumble and Cody helps to eliminate him, and then when Cody starts, talking to him, he gets hit with the mist and then gets eliminated.
Yeah, and somebody tosses him over. Yeah,
that's what I could totally see that. Yeah. So. But I mean, overall, I'd say I give Raw maybe like a C plus, B minus. It was okay. Some matches were entertaining.
Yeah,
the
C show
Ivar
for
Otis.
me.
the Ivar Otis match was fun. I wish it was a little bit longer, but I understand. I mean, big guys, you can't expect us big guys to go very long in the ring. Like it's a lot of
they're gonna run out of gas at some point.
Yeah,
and they were moving the whole.
They
worked the whole time.
They did.
I actually prefer those matches that are a little bit shorter, but it's you get action the whole time.
They got a lot into it. Yeah,
I liked it.
I agree, and of course the R-Truth segment was hilarious, and I loved it. So I mean,
yeah,
watchable show.
R-Truth gets an A for effort.
Oh, he does. R-Truth is so awesome. I love R-Truth. He's awesome stuff. But yeah, so
he's the man.
Now we have Smacketh Down.
Layeth the Smacketh Down from Lincoln, Nebraska this week. Opened right up with a match between Grayson Waller, who was accompanied by Austin Theory, and Cameron Grimes. And this one was like teased backstage in the last week, I believe. It was like they were kind of mouthing off at each other. And like, oh, we're going to open the show, and it's going to be Grayson Waller versus Cameron Grimes. And then while Waller was walking down, they cut to a recap of the main event. I was like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And they cut to a recap of the main event last week, like during his walkout. And I was like, oh, maybe they're trying to save time. And then when they cut back, it's Cameron Grimes being attacked on the ramp.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, they did this so that they could have him get attacked off screen. But he's on the ramp getting attacked by Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. Paul Heyman's there. Waller and Theory get out of the ring. Heyman gets in the ring, cuts a promo saying, hey, we're not the bad guys. Nick Aldis, he's the real villain here for putting Roman Reigns in a fatal four-way and practically guaranteeing that he'll lose his title. I was like, well, that's not showing a lot of faith in Roman Reigns. So it's just kind of a funny thing to say. I get that it's the statistical thing, but you're not showing a lot of faith in the tribal chief. Of course, Aldis grabbed the mic. And then reminded Heyman that they were not equals, and speaking on equal footing, that this was the second match now that had been ruined by the Bloodline because they ruined, obviously, the main event the previous week. But the main event this week wouldn't be, because it would be a 6-man tag match between Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa versus AJ Styles, Randy Orton, and LA Knight. Of course, Paul Heyman had to remind him that Roman Reigns wasn't there in Lincoln, Nebraska, and Nick was aware of that as well. So he gave the Bloodline until match time to find a partner for the 6-man tag. Otherwise, it would just be a 3-on-2 handicap match. It was a good promo. I like the opening. The whole thing wrapped up in a pretty succinct 10 minutes. Everybody did their part well. Set us up for the main event of the evening. So I enjoyed this one. SmackDown does a good job of keeping these things a little bit more condensed.
Yeah, I agree, and I did like this. I didn't like the whole creating doubt in Roman, but at the same time, I get it because they got to talk about the numbers game. But I like the dynamic with Nick Aldis and the Bloodline, right? Like, he's the thorn in their side because he's the GM now that's not going to lay down, right? He can't. He's not going to let them just run roughshod and do whatever they want. So it's kind of like I said, the power that a lot. So I'm all for it. I liked it.
Yeah. No, I think it was good. And then right after that, we immediately were going to go into tag team matchup. So another match that was teased last week. Humberto and Angel, accompanied by Santos Escobar, versus Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro. So they did another kind of, as they were walking out, Coda commercial, and then came back, cut to a backstage promo with the Bloodline kind of stressing about, we got to find a partner for the 6-man tag. Jimmy said he was worried, asked Solo if he was worried. Solo says, I'm never worried. But his facial expression read like somebody who was wondering if he accidentally left the stove on. Like, he always looks worried when you see him. He's like, he always looks worried. So I thought he was worried. But Paul Heyman was on the case, and he was going to try and find them a partner. And then we cut back to everybody's made their way down to the ring at this point. Santos Escobar was on guest commentary for this one. And we got ourselves a really great Lucha Libre style match. I really enjoyed this one a lot. This one's probably my match of the night. If I think back correctly, I believe it was.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, I also say too, we talk a lot about the tag teams and not having real legitimate tag teams. Both of these teams have great chemistry, and they do a lot of double team moves, the little subtle assists that you get from seasoned tag teams. So a lot of fun to watch, a lot of lucha libre elements, obviously, with the suicide dives and hurricane ranas and things like that. Joaquin Wilde felt like he was the standout to me in this one. They were all great, but I really felt like he was the standout. That roll through sit out power bomb from Humberto was really impressive as well. There was just a lot of really cool, really impressive spots in this one. It was match of the night. As we were going through this, getting towards the end, Carlito's music hit, and then Santos Escobar stands up, waiting for him to come out. Carlito jumps him from behind, and then there's like a big brawl. There's some confusion. During the confusion, Angel was able to surprise roll up Joaquin Wilde, which is her favorite thing. And then he held on to the bottom rope to get the win. The referee didn't see it. Yeah. I loved everything except the surprise roll up ending, just because you know how we feel about surprise roll ups. The match was great. I just wish they hadn't done that.
I agree. I was really enjoying the match. You know how I feel about my Lucha Libre. I think it's awesome to see it on the grand stage. It's cool. Now, my only bummer about this was that I feel like the crowd wasn't as into this match as they should have been.
No, you're right.
And
they weren't.
It took them a while to finally start kind of getting, once the spots started hitting and the sit down, you know, all that started happening, which was great, but I feel like it took a while for the crowd to really get into it. I think it's because not everyone's used to Lucha Libre style wrestling, right? And that's okay, but I think that's why it's important to keep showcasing these kinds of matches. So yes, please WWE, keep those going, because those were awesome matches. That was a great match. Carlito, that was a nice little spot. And again, I'm not a fan of the roll up at all, but I agree with match of the night on this one. I think, you know, it could have gone a better way, but as far as the ending goes, but to credit SmackDown, Garza did roll up and grab the ropes because he's a heel. So, yeah, that worked.
Yeah. Well, and that I was fine with, because I was like, okay, he did the heel thing. Mm-hmm. That was totally cool in that regard. I was just like, can we win without a surprise roll? Yeah. Or limit one per week show per month. I wouldn't even say week, like per month. You got to space these out a little bit more. It's too much of the go-to.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I agree. Match of the night, though. Still good.
Yeah, great match. If you didn't see it, go back and watch it. You will love it. It was a barn burner. Backstage promo next with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory confronting Nick Aldis, who was meeting with Carmelo Hayes. And it was some John back and forth. And long story short, they made a match for later in the night, Austin Theory versus Carmelo Hayes. Then after that, we had Paul Heyman trying to woo Carlito, of all people, to join the Bloodline, to no avail. It was fun. He was polishing the apple and trying, not like Eve trying to tempt Adam with the apple or whatever. It was silly, but it made me smile. So this one was one of the better backstage promos. And it was brief, which was nice.
Yeah, it was. I agree. I liked it.
And then, flashback after that. So to the Kevin Owens, the culmination of the U.S. Championship tournament, we had the little flashback, and then the flashback to him knocking out Logan Paul, and then we cut to just a terrible backstage, straight into camera promo that was obviously pre-recorded with Logan Paul talking about how he's called his lawyers because of KO's cast on his hand because it's a weapon, and you know, he's lucky he's not going to sue him, or he is going to sue him, and that the cast has to be off of his hand for their match at the Rumble for it, or it's off. And it was just weak, stupid, didn't like it, dumb, really dumb, extremely dumb. Extremely dumb. If I could give this negative stars, I would give it negative stars. Just did not like it.
Yeah.
But what did you think of it? Oh, I'll put it that way.
I mean, I agree with you. It was petty. It was dumb. But again, I see what they're trying to do with Logan Paul being like the scared heel, right? Like he's like, oh, now I'm gonna, call my lawyers and this and that. I mean, short of having him walk around with a neck brace, I feel they're trying to do all they can to make him look like a coward heel. Again, I just makes me want KO to just take this title off of him so he can go back to challenging Canelo Alvarez and go get knocked out over there. So let him go do that. And it just makes me want this title to change hands that much more. So
yeah, and hopefully they'll do the right thing. Do the right thing, WWE, because I can't handle that much more Logan Paul. I can't imagine he moves the needle that much with wrestling fans. Next up was Bianca Belair versus Bayley. Bayley accompanied by Damage Control. Bianca Belair was all by herself. And I'm not sure how I really felt about this match. There was the record probably for surprise roll-up attempts in a match. Which is what I started laughing about because Bianca Belair did like 3 in a row, like immediately. Right. It was like boom, 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 over and over. And I'm like, okay, can we do something else? There were some really good, fun spots. And then there were points for me where it kind of dragged. Mm-hmm. There was the big storyline, I guess, for this matchup was there were 2 instances where Bayley like faked an injury. She would dump Bianca out of the she dumped her into the ropes the first time. And then faked a back injury and expecting Damage Control to like attack while the referee's back was turned, and they didn't. Mm-hmm. And then later on, she dumped Bianca out of the ring and then faked the knee injury. And then while the ref's back was turned, Damage Control still didn't do anything, didn't jump in and try and attack Bianca Belair. So that was kind of the big storyline that was running through this.
Yeah.
There was at one point where Bayley also pulled a Drew McIntyre, and she had rolled up Bianca too far, and she put her feet on the ropes, and the ref like pointed it out. Which that was weird, seeing that a couple of weeks in a row with that maneuver was a little strange.
Yep.
There was a moment where Bayley is attacking Bianca Belair, and then she took her braid and she tied it to the bottom rope. And then the ref kept saying, Bayley, that's illegal. Undo that braid right now. That's illegal. Untie that now. And the whole time I'm thinking, why is that illegal? Like, refs tie each other, or they'll tie each other, their arms up in the ropes and tangle them in the ropes all the time and beat them up. They never stop that. They never do anything about it. And he's like counting. And it's like, she's not holding a submission. She's not wailing on her in the corner where she's holding onto the ropes. Why are you counting it off and saying, like, technically you should be allowed to tie somebody's hair in the rope? I couldn't think of a wrestling rule where that's illegal. So that kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there was some spots where there was really good action as well. Ultimately, Belair hit the KOD and picked up the win. And then it was just Damage Control being kind of sheepish after that, where they're like, oh, well, she lost. And then there was a backstage segment after that where Bayley was like talking about, hey, why didn't you guys jump in? And they were like, well, it's because, you need to be able to beat her on your own. You're going to have to be in the Rumble by yourself. And basically, we were trying to help you by not helping you, which just kind of felt weak. I wish they would have just done a full heel turn here and like just walked away. Like when they had the chance to do it and turn their back on her, like really do something deliberate. Yeah. Like, don't try to dress it up. They're going towards a breakup. Yeah. So just Band-Aid off and make them do the heel turn. But what were your thoughts on this one?
So again, Bayley and Bianca Belair put together good matches, right? They do, and I did see that where Damage Control didn't help out, and they just kind of, and I knew it. I mean, I've been saying they're gonna break up, and Dakota just like, you should have been able to beat her, like kind of just that tells her what's gonna happen. I agree with you. Yeah, I think the hair spot was kind of. The ref saying it was illegal was kind of dumb, but
it's weird.
I mean, it's I think because then I don't know, maybe it's just me. I think of like football, like that rule where if you have long hair or braids hanging out of your helmet,
it's like Troy Polamalu getting his hair pulled.
Yeah, it's gonna get yanked. That's the rule. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is on that one. But I feel like they could have done a better job. Maybe at the end of the match when Bianca got the win, I would have been nicer to see Damage Control go into the ring as if they're going to help Bayley and then turn on her right then and there. That would have been better, much better way to do it than the way they're probably going to do it, which is going to be at the Rumble where one of them is probably going to throw her out. So that's what I think.
Yeah. Agreed. So we'll see how this culminates obviously it's going to culminate at the Rumble. So another thread to look out for. Next was KO had Kevin Owens had a pre-taped promo response to Logan Paul's pre-taped promo response, which was odd. It's like he was reacting and he had just seen it. Yeah. But clearly it was very cinematically shot. He must have ran and gotten the camera crew and got them to set everything up, and just says that, he essentially, long story short here, invited him to the KO show next week to talk about it and talk everything through face to face. So yeah, the fact that they do these high quality pre-shot like jawing promos with each other that are supposed to kind of be happening one after the other was weird. Yeah. It's one thing if you have Logan Paul do it. They should have just had like a backstage reporter bump into KO back and be like, Kevin Owens, can we get your reaction to this? And hold the microphone in his face. That would have felt more organic than him sitting there with like the high quality film camera filming him. That was just kind of strange to me, but it is what it is. We'll see Logan Paul next week on the KO show, or we won't, or he'll stand him up. We'll see how this goes.
Video call.
But as they build towards the Royal Rumble. Next up was Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. They came out. This one was interesting. They came out to call out AOP and Karrion Kross. Basically called them a bunch of cowards for sneaking around and told them they wanted to fight right now, which came off really like weird and scripted from Bobby Lashley. I expected more of him. Then you see at the top of the everything gets dark, and you see at the top of the ramp is Paul Ellerling, and he points at the Titantron for a video package. They still call it the Titantron, probably, for a video package. And then, I still do too. I was thinking, maybe they redid it. I was like, no, it's the Titantron. Karrion Kross and AOP. So a video package starts, and it's just Karrion Kross and AOP, and they basically rebrand themselves as the Final Testament. I'm guessing is what their group's called now, is the Final Testament. And that was it. And then video ends, and then last year the Street Profits are just kind of awkwardly standing there in the ring, kind of not knowing what to do, and then they just leave. It was nice to hear that they're a group now, and they're just calling themselves the Final Testament. But the ending didn't stick. I was half expecting them to jump them from behind at the end and attack them again, but it was like, all right, spot's over, and they're like, okay, and they just got out of town.
Or I would have expected it to be like where after the team announcement name, right? Yeah, the Final Testament everything goes black, and then when the lights come back on, they're in the ring or on the ramp face to face with them, or you know what I mean, like something like that, something more intimidating.
Yeah, some sort of confrontation.
Yeah, I agree, and I would expect.
Here's our branding.
Yeah,
Final Testament, and we're out of time, and then they're just like, all right, Bobby and the Street Profits, we need the ring right now, so you guys got to go.
They should have had the guy setting up the KO show or something like they're walking into the ring.
He's like sweeping, and he's like, hey, we got to go. It was a little weird. Yeah. Next up was an equally odd backstage segment with Paul Heyman and Pretty Deadly, where Pretty Deadly thought they could both fill the one spot in the three-man. Yeah. Like, this one felt so... I rewound it and rewatched it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what? They thought they were going to be one man in the third spot, and it just felt like we didn't need this. Yeah. They could have cut this and used the time elsewhere. It was very awkward and fell flat for me. And then
they left. Didn't they say they had their oven running or something like that, and they left?
Yeah, it was something weird. Yeah. Like, we left the oven running. It was the oven that Solo Sikoa was worried about earlier. They left it running, and they were going to go take care of it. Better go get it handled. Solo's got enough on his mind. So after that was Carmelo Hayes' video package again. They recycle the video package from before, just to be like, hey, just to remind folks who this is. And then that led into Hayes versus Austin Theory. Yeah. This was billed as a way for him to get into the Rumble. It was like he wants to get into the Rumble, but he needs to prove himself. So this will be a way to make a good impression. Then they go to quick commercial before that starts. Back to more Paul Heyman recruitment, trying to get Bobby Lashley as the third man. That doesn't work. And then we're on to Austin Theory versus Carmelo Hayes. Never escapes me, though, that Austin Theory's logo on the back of his trunks is just the old SmackDown logo that's been recycled. Every time I see that now, I'm like, that's like the SmackDown 2000 logo that's just been recycled for him, which is odd. I feel like they could have tried a little harder. The match started off fast and furious. went to break really fast. Lots of high action and lots of great spots. But just with all the great spots, this one did have a very scary moment at the end of the match that called the match early. And essentially, Carmelo Hayes was seated on top of the top turnbuckle. Austin Theory ran up. When I saw it, I was like, I think he was trying to go for like some sort of a modified Spanish fly because he jumped up and he hit the bottom rope and then caught him. And then they both awkwardly tumbled. They didn't get a full rotation.
No.
And they just fell and landed on top of their heads.
Yeah.
So it was pretty scary. It felt like Austin Theory, when I saw the replay, got the worst of it.
Did.
Like he really landed awkwardly. Carmelo didn't look like he looked like he was fine. Carmelo didn't look like he landed that badly, but it was Theory that really got hurt. Immediately the ref stops the match. I hope they're both okay. I hadn't heard any updates. I hope they're both doing fine. They looked like they were both moving. It seemed like that they were okay. And now that's 2 weeks in a row, Big D, that a match has been stopped early due to injury.
And for a head injury, too, of all things, because, I mean, Vinci got hit with that drop kick. Again, no fault of Kofi, right? But just the way he landed, just hit his head awkwardly. And, probably a concussion. That's probably why we didn't see him this week. But now you have this with Austin Theory. Austin Theory, a move that he does very well. I mean, we've all seen him do the running jump up Spanish fly. Like it's almost like a reactionary type of move and that's one that I love to see. I love seeing a good Spanish fly, but just seeing the way he landed. I think I went back and I saw I paused it and you could see where he like literally like hitting right on the top of his head and like kind of oh man, it was terrible. I hope he's okay.
And like compressing his spine, compressing all the discs. I'm like, there's so many things that can go wrong. And what was amazing is that in the lead up to that. They're both incredible athletes, and they're doing all sorts of really athletic, really dangerous spots, and making it look easy.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's one of those things when you see it happen, you're like, they really are just a split second away from catastrophe.
Oh,
every time they go out there, and they're such great professionals, and they're so good at it that you don't realize it, and then you see something like that, and you're like, yeah, like at any one of those other spots that they attempted and they hit successfully during that. Any one of those could have ended up like that. Yeah. So, I think I want to say they threw out that old line of, hey, this is why we say don't try this at home. Yeah. Corey Graves dropped that line while they were trying to figure out if everyone was okay. Kids, don't try this at home. Yeah. They are trained professionals. Even when you're trained professionals, even when you're as good as Carmelo Hayes and Austin Theory, things can go wrong. Charlotte Flair recently got injured at a house show. I think everyone saw the video from that against Asuka where they were coming to move off the top rope and both fell awkwardly and she caught her leg on the rope. They've done that a million times. Yeah. And you never know. But
I mean, you're right. And it's true because, I don't know if anyone knows, but when you those ropes, when you try to climb those ropes, they're not easy to climb. No, they're not firm. They're very wobbly. They're slick sometimes because of the sweat and everything. Everyone going back and forth on the ropes. You're perspiring, all that stuff. And sometimes your boots are dirty or not dirty, but again, they have stuff on them on the sole of the shoe. And I mean, there's those ropes are slick. They're dangerous. That's why they call it high risk. It's not just a gimmick to say that. And this is just another an ugly reminder that at any given moment something like that can happen. My thoughts go to them. I hope that they're both recover. I hope they're okay, and I hope we get to see them more because both young and extremely talented wrestlers, very 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 talented. So hopefully everything's fine. We can see them at the Rumble and see them do amazing things in the Rumble. So we'll see.
Agreed. Wishing them a speedy recovery. And then after that scary moment, we moved to a backstage promo again. Paul Heyman couldn't find anybody. Couldn't find anyone. But it wasn't because he wasn't trying. It was because nobody deserves to be in the bloodline. I like the nice little spin there.
Yeah, I did too.
And so it was a handicap match. And then Jimmy said he was worried, and he was very, very worried about it. And Solo said, nope, he still wasn't worried. And he just headed out to the ring like a boss. Main event time. So Randy Orton's walking out first, and the reason why Solo headed out like a boss because he ran and attacked Randy Orton from behind. He said he wasn't worried, and he wasn't because that was the plan apparently, and he got the drop on Orton with the old Samoan spike. which was pretty brilliant, actually. I really liked that because it was, for me, they're not just a couple of incompetent heels. He had thought about it, and he was like, all right, we're going into this as a handicap match. I'm not going to be stupid. Yeah. And he went and took out the first guy that came out, which was Randy Orton. And so Orton's out, goes backstage, and then you got Jimmy and Solo up in the ring by themselves, and then everyone else still does a walkout with their entrance, which was kind of weird because then they cut to commercial and it was like come back, and then AJ's doing his whole walk. I was like, hey, you didn't go check on your partner, or you guys didn't all just like, hey, let's forego all of our walkouts now. It was just like, all right, so he goes and does his whole thing. LA Knight comes out and does his whole thing too, and then I really liked the way that the storytelling in this match, because you had that happen with Solo, like, okay, he's going to be smart about this, he's going to get ahead of it and gets Orton out of there. Yeah. Now you still have LA Knight and AJ Styles, who should completely outmatch them. They should. But what you have here is you've got Jimmy and Solo, who obviously are related and they've got this chemistry together. Mm-hmm. And then you have AJ Styles and LA Knight, who, yes, they're great individually, but they still have this rivalry going on. Yeah. And they can't really get on the same page. And they can't get unified. And so that was like the theme the whole time of, hey, this is a consistent, pretty competitive match back and forth between the two, because, you know, there are times where LA Knight and AJ Styles just they couldn't decide who was going to start the match, and then they got dropped on there. And so there was a lot of back and forth, and it made it believable where you're like, oh yeah, this, now that it's not a handicap match and they really are, it's a tag team and they really are rivals and they really are trying to feud with each other at the same time. And that disruption is kind of given the Bloodline an advantage here. So good spots, fun match. It made sense and it was believable. Bloodline starts getting the upper hand towards the end of the match, and it looks like they've taken control. And then, of course, Randy Orton's music hits. He's recovered from that devastating Samoan spike, which normally he would probably kick out of if it was a long match, but because he got hit on the ramp. Yeah. Because he got hit on the ramp, it took him like 20 minutes to recover, which I always think that's funny. If something happens backstage or it happens on the entrance ramp, like, it incapacitates you for the rest of the match. But if it happens during a match, you might kick out of it. But that's fine. But Orton comes down, makes his way to the ring, gets the hot tag, runs wild, hits the power slam, hits the RKO on Jimmy, picks up the victory for the team. Afterwards, Solo attacked him again from behind, so I guess Orton didn't learn his lesson to look over his shoulder. But this time, AJ Styles and LA Knight had his back, and then they just took it to Jimmy and Solo. They put Solo through the announce table to close out the show. So it was a bloodbath for the Bloodline to close it out. I really love the storytelling on this one. I thought it was really, really good. The only knock that I had was they did another closing moment that only the people at home could hear. And it was such an eye-rolling moment where Paul Heyman's standing on the ramp and he's holding his phone up to his face. And then he just goes, I guess he was talking to Siri, because he goes, call Roman Reigns, like, while the crowd's going wild. And then it cuts away. And I was like, hey, dude, even if it picks up, Roman's not going to be able to hear you. You guys aren't going to be able to hear each other. The arena's too loud. No. Like, who are you doing that for? It's like, why are you calling him now? Wait till you get to the back. Call him later. Yeah. Or I'm sure he's watching a SmackDown Live. Like, he probably knows what happened. You don't have to call him and tell him. So that was a little cringy for me. Yeah. The rest of it was great.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the match. I like that they didn't give them a partner, because the Bloodline has always been exclusive to members that are in the Bloodline, right? That's why it's called the Bloodline, because only those of the Anoa'i family are members, which makes sense. Yeah. And so I'm glad they didn't just fill it with somebody just for the sake of filling it. And I thought it was very clever to take out Randy Orton in the beginning, the biggest threat, pull him away. But I also think it's clever because Randy Orton just, has come back from, recovery. So he gets a break. He gets to kind of chill backstage, kind of rest up, and then come in and do, his thing. And he does it well. I mean, nobody does it better than Randy at this point, right? But I like that they let out their frustration on Solo and Jimmy. and they just went to town on them. They got their comeuppance, so to speak. So that kind of sets it up good. Anything I feel they've done with the bloodline, regardless of who it is, has always been done very well, and I really enjoy the faction of the bloodline, and I hope that whenever Roman has to drop that title, I hope they can continue it, And I know it won't be in such a grand fashion because you have to be the top champion to have such, pull and whatnot. But it's nice to see, a strong faction or stable where everything's like down to the last detail, right? Because had Randy not come down that ramp to help out his team, would they have won? It didn't seem that way.
Didn't look like it.
So, I mean, again, I like that they do that. I really do enjoy it. I like it a lot. And so I hope it just keeps happening. But yeah, the whole phone thing was kind of ridiculous and silly. But I mean, that's just storytelling for you.
It can't all be winners. Like the rest of the storytelling was just brilliant. That was a little like,
what I would have done? You know what I would have done? It would probably been funnier. And I think would have been, I don't know, maybe because it would have been too comical. He should have already had Roman on FaceTime and like turned the phone, so where you see Roman like looking like that and seeing his brother,
like wringing his hands,
seeing his cousins getting beat up,
man.
like what I mean. That would be kind of cool. But I mean, it's all good. It was a watchable, enjoyable show.
It would have been funny for me. It would have been funnier if after all of that, Roman Reigns walks out of the back. And he's standing at the top of the stage, and they're like, he was in Nebraska the whole time. And he's just like slow clapping.
Testing my family.
and he goes, and then it cuts away. And everyone's like, huh? That would have been awesome. But I think he really didn't travel to Nebraska, so that would have been impossible. No. But SmackDown was good. I give it a B+. I don't think it was a perfect show, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it better than Raw. So all in all, pretty solid as we continue the road to the Royal Rumble. Which is again going to be in a couple of weeks. They kept saying 2 weeks from tomorrow. 2 weeks from tomorrow. What I was hearing today, so I was like, oh yeah, it's coming up. It's on a Sunday. I wish they were doing these on Saturday. I think it's on a. Oh, is it? No. It's to be on a Saturday then, right?
It's on Saturday. Yeah, I'm
yeah, it's on a Saturday. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
So it's on a Saturday this year. Because I remember they used to do all the pay-per-views were Sundays, like way back in the day. So I always tend to forget. Yeah,
it's Saturday.
Yeah, if it's 27th. On Saturday. Oh, thank goodness. All right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be on a Saturday. So yeah, we got a lot to look forward to, and we'll see what happens next week as we get closer and they continue to tie up the storylines. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is our recap for this week. Tune in next time. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube page. Please. Leave us comments if you disagree or you have different thoughts on what we've talked about. We'd love to hear from you. And that's what we got for this week. So until next time, have a great rest of your week, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.